So I put George's saddle cloths on before I put on the saddle. Both are sitting even and square with each other. The seams are in a straight line right across his spine. Then when I put the saddle on, I'm going to adjust the whole thing to make sure everything is staying symmetrical. So I've lifted the saddle onto his back, and you can see the saddle cloths are sitting down over his over his back, so that is not good enough. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the half pad right up into the gullet, and it should look even. The seam to the half pad needs to be exactly in the middle of his back, and then I do the same with the saddle cloth. It needs to have full clearance over his back, and it needs to be dead straight in the middle, and when both are pulled up into the middle, you should be able to get your hand in there and feel the clearance. That's important to do, and you need to check it after you've done up the girth as well. So when you go around the back, you need to also make sure that these seams of both the saddle cloth and the half pad are exactly in the middle of the saddle over his spine. You're just checking everything here is lined up. It should look the same on the right as it did on the left. And you're keeping that clearance between the horse's back and the saddle cloth and the half pad pulled right up into the gullet. And that needs to stay that way as you tighten the girth and get into the saddle. Okay, so I've now tightened the girth as if I'm about to get on, and before I'm going to put any of my weight in the saddle or tighten the girth any further, I double check that I still have clearance in the saddle cloth, in the half pad. Both of the seams are in the middle, they're up off the horse's spine. It looks the same at the back, it's straight, seams are in the middle, everything's aligned. The saddle cloth is in front of the saddle. There's no seams underneath the front of the saddle. The shims are in place, supporting the saddle up off the horse's wither. When I sit in the saddle, that still needs to look the same with clearance. If it doesn't, you need to get off and fix it because you've done something incorrect. It must look like this in order to keep his back happy and healthy. This is George saddled up with his jump saddle. So he's got his high wither pad on that has the sheepskin underneath. Then he's got his half pad with the shims under the jump saddle. So the really important thing is that both the saddle cloth and the half pad have to be pulled right up into the gullet. So when they're pulled up, the seams of both the saddle cloth and the half pad are in the middle of his spine, and they're in the middle of his spine at the back of the saddle as well. So you have to check front and back of the saddle to make sure they're straight. And when they're pulled up, you should be able to get your hand in here under both, because there's clearance over his wither. So you can see it's nice and straight. Both of the seams are lined up in the middle. Saddle cloth is sitting square. The pad with the shims is sitting square and even. You can see part of it is out the front, so there's no seams under the front of the saddle, and it's pulled clearly up into the gullet.